Duck, it's time to rock. Welcome to the channel, folks. We're a little bit late. We're busy behind the scenes organising who's going to talk about what, who's going to talk about what, and who's going to talk about this, and who's going to mention that. So we've organised that all. So hopefully there'll be no cock-ups with who's going to get the right shout-outs, Brad.
That's right. I don't know who's doing what now. I've forgotten already.
well, I'm going to do the shout out to you two, wonderful, fine, handsome men, for jumping on board. The Rock Professor's joining us from the UK in the morning. If you're watching us on a playback, yep. I'll make sure that we include some social media links for you to go and follow Brad and the Rock Professor. Brad from Australia, he's got a couple of important shout outs to do. Then we're going to hand it over to the Rock Professor. And then he's going to shout out to the most important people, which is the people watching us three guys.
Yes.
Amongst other things. Yep.
The three of us.
It's I've got to say, Andrew, it is a little bit strange to not have you in the top left of the screen.
We should get into the habit of whoever's presenting the album should be up there up there. So we did that for a while, but I just got lazy. So that's my intention. My intention is whoever's going to be presenting the album's going to be up there.
I'm going to request isolation.
Yeah. It is a bit weird, but never mind, mate. We're still here. But good to see you guys, especially because without you two, we wouldn't have a show. So thank you, guys.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
First show of the year. First ranking, first proper show.
Ranking show of the year, yeah.
What have we been doing?
Yeah, exactly. What do we actually do around here? It's almost the end of January.
Yeah, I know, bro.
Quite good.
Can't believe that.
Good to see you. Do some shout outs.
All right. Well, here in Australia, we celebrate Australia Day. So happy Australia Day to everyone here in Australia.
That's a relief. I'm pleased you're celebrating Australia Day and not Hawaii Day or something. It's
No.
Peru Day.
We're patriotic here. Well, I am anyway. And happy Australia Day. Everyone who celebrates it. And if you don't, then you should. All right. That's all I've got to say about that.
Well, bro, I'm just going to jump in and say, being a fellow patriot myself, and I understand the political situation that's been happening, and that happens in your country, and a little bit of that's been happening here and continues to happen here in my country, where there's a strong push for people to, get rid of this identity of Australia Day. Come on. Happy Australia Day. And to all the Australian people who built that nation from nothing, well done.
Yeah. Well, it is, we've many years have passed. We've been celebrating Australia Day for, so long, 200 odd years, and I don't think we should ever stop.
No.
Happy Australia Day. Let's not
get too... It's called the lucky country for a reason.
Yeah, well, is it still the lucky country? I don't know, but yeah.
Wow.
Happy Australia Day, guys. Let's not get political.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Moving right along.
All right. Aaron, with your shout out, bro.
Sorry, there's one more shout out I want to give, which is a very important one related to the channel that's not political. And happy birthday, Eddie Van Halen. Happy birthday. It's his, I believe it's his maybe 70th, is it? 70th birthday, Andrew? Have I got that right? You sure it's 70? Wow. Yeah, heavenly birthday. Have a heavenly birthday, Eddie. And such an important part of our channel here, guys, is the Van Halen component. And Eddie's contribution to music in general is just something we should always remember him for. So happy birthday, Eddie. Cheers. Bit of Coke Zero for you.
You got it, mate. You're on the top shelf. Good on you. Top shelf, bro. Look at that. Coke Zero.
Coke Zero.
We don't get...
by the way, not sponsored.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not showing it because they don't pay us. So...
Yeah. Don't pay us to say that.
Hey, if Coke Zero wants to pay us,
Hey, if Coke Zero want to pay us, I'll show it all day long.
Yeah. If they want to give us a box of Coke Zero a week for saying Coke Zero.
Yeah, send the case each week to Andrew Wilson, CEO, the Coke Company, New Zealand.
Oh, the backdoor man's got to get a box on the Rock Professor too. So Coke's an international company.
Oh, they better be. Yeah, but what's the Rock Professor? Now, he's into a different kind of he's into a different kind of Coke Zero. Andrew, he's into a different kind of Coke Zero, my friend.
Yeah. I'm not going to show that clip because I can't find it because this bloody computer system's changed. But we'll find it in between us doing the show.
Yeah.
Hey, Helene, we're going to do a shout out soon to everybody. I just saw Helene jump in.
Yeah, cool. Hello. Simon, you got a shout out, did you?
No, you've missed one. You
were going to do a thing about John Sykes.
Yes. I'm sorry, guys. I was going to do, I put together something for John Sykes, basically, a very big, a huge influence over me as I was, growing up, young guitar player, listening to 1987. That album in particular was a massive influence for me. I could hear a lot of blues rock genius in his playing, and then obviously, over the years, investigated more of John Sykes. His Blue Murder, his solo career, his stuff with Thin Lizzy, and basically everything John Sykes has ever done, I've got in some way, shape, or form. A lot of my, fantastic musician friends, guitar players, love John Sykes. One that's a favorite to our channel here, Zach Zedris. I mean, his black Les Paul has at one stage had silver scratch plates, silver pickup surrounds. He had the old John Sykes look going. So John Sykes, rest in peace. The world obviously lost a true rock guitar icon. There'll never be another like John Sykes. His extraordinary talent and passion for music will, live forever, basically, in rock history. John, your groundbreaking guitar work on 1987, Whitesnake's 1987 album, with the electrifying riffs, Still the Night, it's timeless. Is His Love remains some of the most iconic melodic guitar playing I've ever heard. His songwriting partnership with Coverdale created tracks that defined an era of rock. I mean, 1987, I've spoken to a lot of people in the last week about that album and the impact it had on them as musicians, and even down to the confusion point. Like my drummer in Rewind 80s and Appetite for Destruction, my drummer, he spoke about that to me yesterday at my gig and said he bought vinyl version of 1987 back in the day. It was his first vinyl he bought, and he was confused because the lineup that was in the video was not the lineup that was on the album. And it took time for him to realize as he grew up that John Sykes was the actual guitar player on that album. And his partnership with David Coverdale there, they created tracks that, like I said, define an era of rock, in my opinion. His legacy extends beyond Whitesnake, though. Obviously, with Phil Lynott and Thin Lizzy, he delivered some unforgettable classics. Cold Sweat, Sun Goes Down, amongst a few. There's that raw power and heartfelt emotion in Thin Lizzy, as everyone knows. And we all know, the guitar players that have come out of Thin Lizzy as well. Another fantastic player, Gary Moore, who played with Sykes for a while there too, which was incredible to hear and watch some of that. He also had a solo career, and he had a career with a band called Blue Murder. Showcased his, artistry as a frontman, as a band leader. I mean, there's some masterpieces on that album: Valley of the Kings, Jelly Roll. And as I said, as a solo artist, he further demonstrated his brilliance as a guitarist, but also as a songwriter and a vocalist. A true pioneer of rock, Is he underrated a little bit? I think so. But I think everyone that's important knows who the hell John Sykes is. So he inspired an entire generation of rock guitarists, who continue to borrow from his signature wide vibrato licks and masterful pinch harmonic techniques. I just wanted to, say on behalf of the channel and everyone watching, probably, an abundance of guitar players that I know, thank you for the music, the inspiration, the magic that you gave the world. You'll deeply be missed and never forgotten. So I've been listening to Whitesnake and Blue Murder and everything this week. Do yourselves a favor after the show, go put 1987 on.
Well done, mate. And I just want to remind people that we have ranked on the channel in 1987, and I'll include a link to that show. And if you want to find out a little bit more about the personnel changes that Brad mentioned in his shout out to John Sykes, we cover that to some degree on that show, because again, it's an important thing for people to remember that distinction. But yeah, well done. Thank you, Brad. Well done. Great guitar player, rock professor.
Well, I have two things to shout out. The first is that you'll see, I think Andrew's put it in the chat, a link to Caleb's from Nerd Helen's GoFundMe thing. It's up to $62,000, but having lost everything in the awful Californian fires, and the whole area that he lived in, Pacific Palisades, is just burned to the ground. I don't know, you might have seen photographs, there's some film and all sorts of stuff about it, but so there is a GoFundMe for Caleb, so please support him so that he can get back on his feet, get back settled somewhere and with somewhere to live, which would be cool.
I did see on a social media post, Simon, that he was at NAMM, which is good to see him out, which is great. I saw a picture Peter Thorne shared with him on his Instagram page, which was pretty cool. So well done, Caleb. Well done.
Yeah, so that link's there. The other thing I'd like to say is that I particularly, and I posted it on my Facebook and Instagram, the death of Garth Hudson, the great keyboard player from the Band. As we know, the Band are a seminal group backing Bob Dylan and producing music from the Big Pig in the Band, which was absolutely groundbreaking, iconic records in the 1969, 1970, which influenced Clapton particularly, but also a host of other bands, and Americana, they're sort of the original Americana band, and was the keyboard player Garth Hudson, multi-instrumentalist. I mean, he played accordion, electronic keyboards, saxophones, all sorts of things. And remember on he played the clavinet, didn't he? Pre-Stevie Wonder, he played that clavinet part up on Cripple Creek. So and we've ranked the Band album, haven't we?
Yeah.
We've done that. So rest in peace, Garth Hudson, a magical musician, and one of the in one of those bands that only come along once in a lifetime. I think the Band were an extraordinary band. So
very cool name.
Rest in peace. Yeah. No, interestingly, like so many, not his first name. What's the one thing about Garth Hudson? He's called Eric Garth Hudson. But, so yeah, if you don't know the Band, check it out. If you could check out our show to do with the Band as well. Get some idea
Simon.
about
it. Great song.
I'll include a link to a couple of those shows that we've done on the Band on this video too, if you're interested in watching those videos that Brad and I and the Rock Professor did too.
Yeah. For sure. Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Wow. I think we've covered all the shout outs.
Well, do you want to talk briefly about about what you've been doing this week, Mr. Walton? What you went to see? this week?
Oh yeah. I think this is just a bit of a dovetail into maybe Garth Hudson and
A link.
the backing band to Bob Dylan. So last night I had the opportunity to go and see the latest Bob Dylan biopic film, and true to a lot of the interviews that they gave before the movie was officially released. The production of the film is outstanding. It's incredible. The guitars that they use, the gear, the walls, the furniture that they're using in New York, walking down the streets past some of these coffee houses. They just nailed that whole aura, the mystique. It was just fantastic. It was just done really, really well. The guitar playing, I was just telling Rock Professor and Brad in the green room, the guitar playing of the guy acting as Bob is incredible. He's actually playing those chords. He's doing the hammer-ons between the G chord and the C chord. Edward Norton is playing banjo chords. The girl who's acting as Joan Baez is playing chords and singing the songs wonderfully well. So from that perspective, folks, and to get a feel of what was happening with folk music and why it's important for rock and roll, because that's the key. That's the key about the film, the importance of rock and roll and its link back to the folk music and what the folk music scene was trying to do, and how rock and rollers took that folk music persona and made it a little bit theirs, which probably isn't correct. Like a lot of things, Brad and Simon, you know, there's always someone else that's done it a little bit before you. And so from that perspective, go and see it. And of course, we were talking about the Led Zeppelin film, and the Rock Professor's going to have to make a road trip. He's going to have to make a road trip to go and watch that.
Yeah. Have to go out.
He's going to go out because we're going to do a show definitely on that.
I'm going out to another country to see it.
Another country? The UK?
Wales.
Oh, sorry,
Wales.
you are in the UK.
Wales.
You have to go to Wales.
Wales to see it. Yes.
Where they speak a different language.
Speak a different language. But you know, it is land of my fathers, of course. But you know, with a name like Williams, where else does that come from? But
that's right.
As I bored you all previously, I have a strong Welsh ancestry root, so I'm going back to the old country.
Back to the old country. 50 k's that way.
Yeah. Oh dear. So yeah, I have to make a road trip to do that, but that's the next thing that's coming. I've seen some clips of it. Looks really interesting. Yeah.
Be good. Yeah. I can't wait.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to see it.
I must say, I've been in two minds about the Dylan thing, but Andrew's persuaded me that going to watch the Dylan film might be all right.
Yeah, I think
we'll see. If I come back furious, I should be blaming you, Mr. Walton, for this.
He's more or less enforced that you have to go, Simon.
It is, yes, I agree. Yes, cyberbullying.
Cyberbullying, and you got proof too.
Simon bullying. Yeah, I got to bring my ticket back as well.
You've got proof, you know, that you got bullied online.
Yeah, online.
Mr. Coke, if you wanna sponsor us and open up another one.
Send it in. Stop that now. Yeah, look, it's my non-Coke branding.
I bet. Oh gosh, this Coke tastes good. Oh, it's nice and cold. Oh.
Well, we'll enjoy
advert read through. Advert reads through now. That's what we're doing.
We're well and truly back, gentlemen.
Yes. Well,
you remember the days when you only drank Coke with rum in it, or bourbon, or you know,
bit of Jack Daniels. Oh,
yeah. You remember those? Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
hey, for some people, they've never ended.
Hey. Well done, you, Mr. Cook. For the rest of us.
No, I don't drink. I had a couple on the weekend, but yeah, I don't really drink at all. I never drink anymore.
Jack was Helene's poison.
Yes. Helene.
Yeah, it's not good. I don't recommend drinking at all, people. So it's
Well,
no good.
I don't know about you, Brad, but I mean, I just got out of the habit of it a lot of the time, just because when I did a lot of gigs, I used to drive to them all the time.
Mm.
Well, I don't know about you, but drinking and driving is not a brilliant idea, and
No.
get you off the road very quickly. And also, I don't know about you, but I can only play sober. I
Well,
did try.
back in
I
the
did
day,
try
I
it
used to
once.
play really
Yeah.
good.
Did you? Did you? Did you?
I
Did
used
you
to
play
think-
really well?
But the key word was I used to think I played really well.
Ah, right.
I don't know if I did or not. Everyone said I did,
No.
but I listened to some things back on video on that and go, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have had that last drink.
Yeah. See, I only did it the once. I maybe 3 beer, not going mad. I only had 3 beers, enough to affect me, and I could consciously feel myself playing terribly, and you're going, oh, this is terrible. I don't have the control I normally have. This is going really badly, And I was horrified with myself. I thought, I better not do that again, because I didn't like that feeling at all. Because clearly, unlike you, I could actually tell that I wasn't playing very well. But
Yeah. Wow.
some would say it's a standard thing, but But yeah, so I didn't stopped even that, really. Stopped doing any of that nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember clearly having that conscious feeling about not being quite in control, and it not being the way that I like to, be in control and being able to play. Funny. Anyway, so there we are.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
we just Cokes, not Jack Daniels or anything else in Coke, just Coke.
Just Coke Zero, as Andrew calls it,
Zero.
top shelf. I call it unleaded fuel.
Oh, yes, unleaded. Yeah.
So guys, are we going to dive into this record, or
yes? Shall we start?
We normally do like 20 minutes and then we start, so we're about 23, so we're a little bit laggy today.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll just say hello to people in the chat, because we have got Ellen, of course. Good morning, Ellen, and Helene O'Hara. Morning, Helene. Christopher Lysover commented earlier. I don't know if he's still awake, but hopefully. I think they're the only 2 people that actually commented besides Andrew. So please drop a comment in, and I'll say hi to you.
Yeah.
Good morning. Good to see you all.
Yeah, good to share the screen with everyone.
Yeah. We've already had 22 thumbs ups, which is very nice. So thank you to everyone who thumbs up.
There's a few people lurking; they're just not commenting. So yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah, of course.
Who doesn't do that? Who doesn't do that? From
Right.
time to time, you're busy doing stuff. Anyway, so this week's the new year, new album. We're starting this week with Ry Cooder's "Bop Till You Drop," and I kind of I chose this because it's where I came in with Ry Cooder. And basically, when it came out, I was working in the record shop, and I remember clearly it coming out, and on the back of that, going and collecting lots of his other records, like Paradise and Lunch, Boomer's Story, the first one, and they all kind of have a different kind of theme to them. So, and as we haven't done Ry Cooder, and he's clearly had some influence with the Rolling Stones and earlier on and things, and done a made album with Taj Mahal, the Rising Suns. So an important and enduring musician. Played later on, made film soundtracks and famously the Buena Vista Social Club record with the Cuban musicians as well, with Cuba and made an album for them. But as I say, Bop to Drop is where I think quite a lot of other people came in, if you like. I think it's a big hit, and it's had a sort of we'll get into this in more detail, but it had a kind of it was the first album to be recorded digitally, in a digital manner. And it is interesting that it's. I think it's really noticeable that as a thing.
It's part of my notes, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I say, it came out when I was in the record shop, so we used to play it a lot in the shop and things, and it's a very cool record, to play that. What about you guys, Brad? Did you come across it before? Much?
I have heard it previously. Obviously, I've heard a fair few Cooder records over the years, but I must admit, I feel like I haven't listened to this for maybe at least a decade, Simon. I reckon it's been one of those ones that probably have not given any airtime to, because it always other things bump it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't think to put it on because I put something else on. But I drove, like I've been listening to it all week, and I did my rankings early in the week actually, and then I listened to it in the car going up to my gig in Albury, Wodonga, sort of region of New South Wales, just on the border of New South Wales and Victoria. So I was in the car for 3.5 hours, and I put it on and I listened to it a couple of times. And to be honest with you, it was a relaxing album to drive to. I found it was one of those sort of albums that you probably wouldn't put on to go party to, but you put it on like as music you put on, like driving music or background music at a dinner party, or like that's how I picture this album. But to be honest with you, I haven't listened to this album for at least a decade, I reckon, Matt, or more, Simon. So it was like listening with fresh ears. And one of the many things I noted about the record is it's very new school polished. I call new school polished because you mentioned that it's one of the first digital recordings, Simon. So it definitely does sound very digital. The guitars are very, like, even some of the guitar tracks sound direct input, not through a mic, if not through a guitar amp, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They're there, and that's a very 80s thing for clean guitars. And this was done in 79, so probably maybe a pioneering sort of record in that sense, where the cleaner guitars are very sparkly and very digital. But yeah, I enjoyed the album, Simon. I haven't listened to it in a long time, and it was good to revisit it. 100%.
I agree. I mean, I've not listened to it for a long time either, and so but I have very clear memories of we listened to it a lot when it came out. Andrew, what about you?
Never heard it before in my life.
Seriously, have you never come across it before?
Except for two songs. Obviously the single. The single was big here in 1980 when I first went to high school. But no, I'm a cherry boy when it comes to this album, and I've done some research in the time that we've had since the Rock Professor gave us this album, and I have to agree with you, Brad. One of the reviews and one of the articles I read said that Rye was in particular looking for a nice clean tone, hence the Cooder caster, and I've got pictures to show of that. That guitar, he was definitely, as you've hit the nail on the head, he was after. He didn't want that Allman Brothers tone on the slide. He was purposely looking, and he didn't want, obviously, to go back to this, to the lap guitar sound, obviously, but he was definitely looking for a new sound, and took advantage, Rock Professor, as you've said or hinted at, of the current technology available, and that helped them get the tone.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Oh well, so you're in my seat of no, I've never heard this before, and I've just done it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's sometimes a good thing too, guys. Like if we haven't heard the album, it's good to get a fresh set of ears on it. But I do, Simon, feel like I've come to this one with a fresh set of ears because I haven't heard it for so long. So
no, yeah, I agree. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I, as I say, I'm probably like you in that, you when you first get, to have an album, you play it a lot, and you get to really know it, and then you
yeah,
don't necessarily play it. I haven't played it for like, as you say, 10, 15 years probably. I mean, I
yeah,
know it really well in my head. I've got sort of so it was very familiar when I went back to it, which I think is probably the difference. Is that it certainly was
yeah,
very familiar to me when when I listened to it again. But
yeah.
yeah, it's
Awesome.
been yeah, it's been amazing to kind of to figure out. As I say, it was the first album recorded on digitally. As
Mm,
although I think tape is involved at the end. I mean, I think that there's a digital bit in the middle. So I did
I
have a
think
lot. I did have
that
find some stuff about early digital recordings, which is quite amazing. But
yeah,
um, it's but yeah, I mean, as I say, we can get this into talk about the production of it and things in more detail when we go in. But yeah, he used a 3M digital tape recorder, a revolutionary technique at the time,
wow,
and which interesting. I don't know if you agree. We can see if we agree that but it's still got a kind of pretty warm, organic feel to it. I think that's one of the interesting things that managed to
mm,
balance the two things off. And but
mm,
although apparently Rye was a bit, he felt, I think that they something got lost in translation from what was being played to what was
mm.
coming across on the recording, and he reckoned there was a thinness to the tracks which undermined the performances. But,
Right,
I don't
okay.
know. I didn't necessarily feel that myself. I have to
Mm,
say. I think
right.
it's I thought it retained a pretty good balance between the warmth of the analog stuff and
Mm.
clearly moving into new territories by doing it, which is so yeah. But we can talk about that as we go through.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I say we get into the rankings,
Yeah,
gentlemen.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna start with track one. Track
Yeah,
one, side one. You
yeah,
know me, Mr. Old School. Track one, side one.
yeah. You got to
um,
do it. Yep.
yeah, which is Little Sister. Which is it's a reimagining of the Elvis Presley song. Elvis did it originally, and
Yep.
and I think that this album features quite a lot of those kind of 50s rock and roll things and R&B stuff that old style R&B things that if you notice, each one of Rye's albums have a kind of theme, like chicken skin music, and they have a kind of theme to them, and this is kind of 50s and 60s R&B, I would say, in that sort of area.
Mhm.
So it's a jaunty opener, isn't it? It's got
Yeah.
swings along. It showcases that kind of light, airy sound that they have on this record. I think you notice very much the digital separation of all the instruments, particularly the bass.
Yeah.
I think that fortunately it hasn't still got bass, and the bass is great and fantastic, but it's very much the instruments are quite separated out, and you can pick each one out quite
Mm.
comfortably. But I think that personally, I think it kind of contributes to its, to giving it a particular sound, giving it a particular kind of, that kind of, it gives a very beautiful sheen to it, doesn't it? As a, vibe to it. It sounds amazing to me.
Yeah.
As I say, listening to it in a variety of things, this week, cars, headphones, stereo,
Yeah.
it sounds fantastic. And, this kind of drops along. It's got the duet harmony lead vocals as well, which
Yeah.
is good. Is going to be a feature. Multi-track vocals and things are going to be a feature on this, and a lovely solo. isn't it? You know, I mean,
Yeah.
that's, you know, a very kind of crystalline, but beautifully plays the melody, plays it beautifully, you know, and has a particular sound to it that, and that kind of intricate, sophisticated arrangements, especially around the vocals,
Yeah.
which I think was fantastic.
I
I think a
agree.
great opener. I think it's you know, it kind of lays out what the album is going to be in a really good way. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Never a skip. I
Awesome.
don't. Oh, is
Fantastic.
Brad next or you, Andrew?
Andrew.
Me, I'm gonna go next.
Oh, off you
thank
go
you
then.
for that,
Good.
Simon. Helene has given it 9 out of 10, and I have to agree with Helene. She's saying she's described it as a boppy tune. My notes here, I've got it. It's a cool groove, and this was a big hit here in New Zealand. I remember it being on video. The video was played, and it must have been in the top 10 for a while because it was played regularly. I remember that. So. And I always thought it was quite a sophisticated song. Thank you, Rock Professor, for doing the Elvis Presley call out, because that's the song that I knew. You know, when you first heard, you knew that was an Elvis song. And even back then, I thought, oh, this is a good interpretation. I think one of the great things about this is the harmonies, the vocals, you know, with the guys, you know, and that's a theme, isn't it, that carries right through the whole album,
Yes.
which I particularly dig. I like that. But yeah, I have to agree, Rock Professor, it's a fantastic song, great solo, and great opening track for the album. Definitely 9 out of 10, Brad, and it's never a skip, bro.
Yeah. Wow. You guys have been reading my notes again, which is generally what I'll put here. Little Sister, obviously the Elvis version. It's a cover, obviously, of Elvis's song, so it's a great cover version. The way he's done it, I think it's. I've put here a few notes. Style I've written here. For me, it's got like that rockabilly meets funky rhythm and blues. It's got that vibe for me. I may be a little off there. It's got a funky, danceable sort of beat, obviously very similar to the Elvis Presley one. It's got like a dance beat to it, but it's blending that rockabilly swagger with that modern sort of blues rock funk element there. I think Cooder's guitars, they dominate. They're bright. They're sharp. They've got that intricate sort of dynamic to the sound. I think it's very cool the way that they've recorded the. Simon, you went into it, so I'm not going to repeat it. But the way they've recorded everything, it sounds, you can hear everything very clearly, even down to the percussive strumming and things like that. It's all very crystallized. You can really hear it all very clearly. I believe the bass player, his name's Tim Drummond, I think.
Tim Drummond, yeah.
He's got he gives a really good funky groove, driving bass line. Jim Keltner's on drums. It's very crisp, straightforward. Drumming gives the track that rockabilly shuffle the way he's playing. This has got that vibe to it. And the vocals on it are warm, laid back. And, Andrew, you touched on the backing vocals and the soulful harmonies. I think that's like you said, there's a theme of this across the whole record. I'm a massive Elvis fan. Obviously, I can't help it. So I do love this song. I've given this a 10 out of 10, guys, and never a skip.
Yeah, I think we should say that the main backing vocalist is Bobby King, a guy called Bobby
King. Yeah, I've got a note here for that, but I forgot to mention it. Yeah,
he's sung with everybody. I mean, he's sung with loads of people, including his backup vocalist on Bruce Springsteen's Human Touch tour and things.
Yeah.
And so he's been around a block and sung with lots of people, and is a fantastic vocalist. And I think really complements Rye's style as well.
Yeah,
because slightly more soulful thing. Cool. Okay, so track 2 is "Go Home Girl," which is a bit more of a ballad, originally written by Arthur Alexander. And this kind of is a bit more laid back, but it's I think that it starts off with a guitar, that's beautifully recorded and stuff, and it's melodically really sound. I mean, just I think that I made a note saying it's beautifully recorded, proving you can still have a soulful, swinging feel even if recorded digitally.
Yeah.
But take note, later digital recorders, possibly. And he sings just the guitar and the vocals in the first verse, and the band comes in for the chorus kind of thing, and that kind of lilting, kind of reggae sort of tone to it. Great melodic bass that plays a kind of counter melody to things, which is great. And the guys can have and the bass player's going up, which is lovely. And again, it's really nice to be able to hear that very clearly. With the separation and stuff, you hear that very clearly. Just light drums, just nice, but and with the chorus kind of picks up the pace, and there's a contrast between the pace in the chorus and the pace in the verses, which I think is gives it a dynamic, and again a beautiful melodic solo, beautifully paced, and it's just and he has a particular way of doing it, and it's as Andrew said at the beginning, that kind of crystalline sound that he was going for. It's not raspy, but I think it gives it a great sort of beauty that is fantastic. I find it thrilling to listen to those things, and those and again the backing vocals as well, really hitting the mark. I gave this a 9 out of 10 too, and never a skip. Brad.
Awesome. Us, Andrew.
Yeah, mate.
Sorry,
thank you, Rock Professor.
got it wrong already.
yeah, it's okay. It's all right. It's okay. Senior moments. Good senior moments. One of the things I like about this track, guys, is the authenticity of the vocals, and it's not surprising when you consider Cooder, even as a young guy, he gave that authenticity to the Rolling Stones. When he was recording "Let It Bleed" with the Rolling, was it "Let It Bleed" or was it Biggest Banquet? Let It Bleed, yeah. And his influence, playing the mandolin and just being around Keith, certainly had some rub off on these guys, and I couldn't help, Brad, but sort of have that image in my mind when I'm listening to this song about where Cooder is as a musician and where he comes from, and the fact that he's singing this song on the second track, which is a mixture of blues for me and that country stuff, but not the country and western stuff, that sort of deep country, which is not bluegrass, and I like that. Because I've always called that the authenticity that a lot of these American artists have. It's just in them, isn't it, Simon? These guys, especially these Southern guys, where the third, fourth, fifth generation musicians. Some of these guys, so it's in them. And that's the image that I'm getting in my mind when I hear this track. I think it's a remarkable track, and it sort of suits and it finishes off that sort of that bouncy groove you've got with Little Sister. I like it. I've given this a 9 out of 10, and it's never a skip, Brad.
Yeah, excellent. For me, Go Home Girl. I've written here a slow burning soul ballad. It's got a little bit of a, there's a song gets moving and it's got a bit of a slight reggae sort of thing going on as well. I picked up. I don't know whether that's whether you guys picked that up as well or not. Very clean melodic rhythm guitar work. You've got obviously the lead guitar works adding that sort of emotional accenting, the warm rounded bass line. It's very clear. You can very hear it. It's got a very complementary sort of sound to the drums. The drums are very restrained, focusing on that snare and hi-hat for the light sort of shuffle feel. Keyboards, I think is there an electric piano I'm hearing in there or something like that? I'm not sure what it is, but that sounds really cool. It's got somewhat of a gospel feel. I think it's a really emotional, resonant track. It's got real soulful sort of atmospheric feel to it. I gave it an 8 out of 10, guys, and never skip.
I think it's an organ, Brad.
Okay.
It's certainly an organ. Right?
Yep. Beautiful.
Cool. So
yeah,
I think it's yes. I think it's worth saying that it's kind of mixed in, isn't it? So you hear it a bit, but not right out there. The third track is the very thing that makes you rich makes me poor, which is again an older song, a bit more of a soulful blues song. This I think, but interestingly, it's kind of got a bit more of a blues structure to this. Electric guitar with a bit of chorus on it, kind of getting into that. You can tell it's kind of a bit more. It's got more effect on it, isn't it? As a you think that's kind of an 80s sound to it, even though it's 79. It's and I was struck by those kind of shades of Dire Straits, kind of in that beginning bit of the playing at the beginning, kind of.
I hear
Kind
that.
of slightly impressionistic sort of playing that we've talked about with Mark Knopfler and Brothers in Arms. It's and again, vocals over the guitars with quite subtle backing vocals as well. Again, that multi-vocal singing. When they get to the title, there's quite a bank of backing vocals singing the title track when it comes. Again, drums don't come in until 1:16, so you've got a whole section before the drums come in, which is something of a feature. I think it was of that. They did that in several songs on here. Again, that kind of when he comes in with the slide solo, he just comes in with that one note and he just holds it, and he holds it till it's just going in the background, and I think it's sort of one note. It's not quite one note, but I think it's three, but played kind of forever, and he just moves the slide on the note, and then he just moves it up, and just you've got to have some confidence. I think that's the sign of a confident man, isn't it? I don't have to play I could just play one thing, just almost, just and literally for 45 seconds kind of thing, which I think is amazing. It's not even up the front, and then he kind of breaks into the solo, but after about 45 seconds of just holding that thing. I think it's lovely. It's really nice, and again, and then you've got a slightly more kind of, I hesitate to use fuzzy guitar, but kind of just that kind of slightly more overdriven sound that he has with the bass, and change up the vibe a bit. And again, the backing vocals over the instrumental at the end, and the groove. I mean, Jim Keltner's a fantastic drummer. Knows how to lay down a groove, with the swing and everything. So another great track. I gave this a 9 out of 10 as well. Never a skip. Andrew.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for that, Simon. For me, this is the track where the bass certainly comes into its own. I really love it on this track. Thank you for mentioning Jim Keltner, because my gosh, how many rock and roll albums has this guy been on? And that influence that he has as a percussionist is undeniable, and definitely continues, Brad, on this album for me. Great technique, isn't it, with the guitar playing on this track. You get a hint of it, of what's to come, but I just think it's really fantastic. I'm a like all of us here, we love slide guitar, but just some of the stuff that the guitar playing that Cooder offers, you're right, Simon, is in that sort of Dire Straits kind of camp, where it's nice and clean and precise, and every note is thought about beforehand, which isn't, I'm not saying that there's these guys that just go out there, jam and improvise, hitting a mark completely off the page, but you know, it's always good. It's always good for me to hear a precise piece, and I get that with this track. Great lyrics. I've given this 8 out of 10, guys. Never a skip, Brad.
Awesome. The very thing that makes you rich makes me poor. Guitars. Is this, you know, I was reading that title and I thought, well, for famous people, the famous musicians, a guitar makes them money, but us not mere mortals, when we play it, it costs us money and it makes us poor. So
Yes.
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 I've put here gospel tinged blues with a funky edge. I don't know if that sort of describes it well. It's got a really reflective sort of groove. I've got here the guitar work is expressive, featuring like very subtle vibrato and on the slide work, I think it is, the way he does that slide and just like slurs those like a vibrato.
Yeah.
Love that. Great solo. Andrew, I picked up on the syncopated groove with the bass, locks in really tight with the drums. I like that. The drums are minimalistic, but obviously focusing on the song, which is what all great drummers do. Vocally, you know, the background vocals, Bobby King, is that's who it is, Simon? Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
So yeah, great background vocals and lead vocals there from Cooder. It's got like that gospel sort of call and response thing going on. I think it's a great song. I've given it 8.5 out of 10, guys, and never skip.
Sure.
Cool.
Simon.
So here we go. The last track on side one is an instrumental. An instrument is called "I Think It's Going to Work Out Fine," which is a cover of an Ike Tina Turner song. But as I say, it's significant, I think, for its kind of, you know, that kind of tight rhythm and bass. You know, the drums and the bass kind of locking in on the groove, and the kind of the interplay between the two guitars as well, David Lindley and Rye. Again, one guitar plays the melody, second guitar plays in the background, and you've got then the slide taking over to playing kind of the soulful melody as well. And you know, again, beautifully played. You know, a lot of soul in it, a lot of feel, and you know, gives it. You know, people talk about, don't they, that the slide is like somebody singing kind of thing. Well, I think there's no better example of a slide like somebody singing than this track. And then around 2:30, you've got a kind of counter melody played by the acoustic as well, which is lovely. You know, that kind of trading the two things off, and a slide solo to end. I give this a 9 out of 10. I think it's it's beautifully played, beautifully done track, and in spite of no vocals, so still, I still think it has all the feel that you would need. So yeah, 9 out of 10 for me. Andrew.
Yeah, this is the second track that I am very familiar with over the years. This is one that when you're learning to play slide guitar, it's one that people will throw into you, Brad, to go and check this guy out, check this piece out, you know, as a variation to whatever else you're listening to. I just want to do a little shout out too, because I forgot to mention this. Our friend Hugh Caldwell messaged me. He's a huge Cooder fan, and so he'll be watching this on playback. So we just want to do a special shout out to our friend Hugh.
Yeah, hope you're right, Hugh.
Yeah, hope you're doing well.
Yeah. He'll be okay. I'll talk to you boys later. And he did mention one thing. We had one little conversation about Cooder, and I think it's probably one where a lot of my friends and I were starting to talk about him a little bit more, was when that film Crossroads came out, because Cooder is playing the guitar in all those pieces. and he's the guy that taught Ralph Miaccia how to play slide, with the Telecaster, even though Rye's playing it. So, one of the great slide guitar players, guys, in the world, and we've got a couple of pics of the guitars that he's, playing. But especially on this track, the Cooder caster, whether it's the Telecaster or the Stratocaster that he's playing, it doesn't matter. I suspect from the research I've done, it's the Stratocaster he's playing with that special lap steel pickup. But all people, Simon, all slide guitar players will point to this piece as a great example of having a great technique, of hitting those notes. You mentioned it before, Brad, of having that vibrato, a delicate vibrato that he uses, just over the fret. It's a very delicate vibrato, and I love it. I've given this 9.5 out of 10, not quite a 10 out of 10, Simon, 9.5. But in my slide guitar player's Bible, Brad, I've got the song as a reference point for people to go to as well. Brad.
I don't know what to say after you two gentlemen have given your rankings, because it's. I'll just pick up the little bits maybe that you guys haven't already picked up on. I love the playful feel of the song, the twangy percussive rhythm guitar playing, the subtle, slide licks by Ry Cooder. They're just very tasty, and the song has got the bass is very bouncy. Matches the song's tone, in my opinion. It's got the right energy, is what the word I'm actually looking for. Drums snappy and light on. They're not like pounding away. They're just perfectly for the song, focused, on the song, which is what all Jim Kelton's great at doing. Obviously it's got like this is like an old school R&B sort of charm. It's got that for me in this song. It's got that sort of feel about it. And, without sort of repeating everything you guys have said with the guitars and everything like that, Andrew, and what you've said, Simon, I'll give it a 9 out of 10, guys, and never a skip.
Well done.
Yeah, fair. We are at the end of side one, so to do pictures, Mr. Wharton?
No problem. So we just want to remind you folks that we have a merch store attached to the channel.
Yeah.
Hey.
If you want to go and check that out, we do make a little bit of money on the t-shirts that are sold. But if you want to check that out and support the channel, we invite you to. If you want to go and check it out, please do. So we've got some pics here.
Yep.
There's the cover of the album, and Simon, I remember this being in the record shops too in 1979, 1980, when I was going to do my weekly pilgrimage. But I do remember this. They made a big deal of this. There was a big poster, and they must have had a cutout cardboard thing of him doing this as well. They must have.
Right. Oh, okay. But it is a very striking cover, isn't it? It's once seen, never forgotten, I think.
I think it's like the purpley pink with the Placid plate. Is it Placid Lake blue sort of coloured Telecaster? Is that what a Stratocaster? Is that what it is?
Lake Placid blue, bro. You're onto it.
Yeah.
Yes. Your Fender colours.
Oh yeah.
Or their car colours. Anyway.
So Ry Cooder was always interested in changing pickups, guys, on his guitars. So if you notice this strip here that he's got, Brad, he's got a pickup from a Jazz Master.
Yeah, in the bridge.
In the bridge. Something that he did. Yeah.
And I know Fender have released versions of a Strat like that now. Like with that sort of.
Really, with the P90 in there, or not?
Yes.
That's not P90.
Yes.
No, it's not a P90.
No, it's the Jazz Master one, whatever it is. Yeah.
Which is a single coil. Yeah.
Yeah. But I've seen Fender have released, whether it's I'm not sure if it's a Mexican version or that they've done that on, or a US one, but yeah, they have done that.
So he came to Australia and New Zealand in 78.
Okay.
So the Antipodean tour, and here's a photo of him with David Lindley, Simon, at the Auckland Town Hall in 1979. Another great slide guitar player.
Yes.
Yeah.
Famous for playing slide with
Jackson Browne.
That's it.
Jackson Browne.
Yep.
And he's made a
Running on Empty.
Running on Empty and all that. He did a good album with El Rayo X as well. That's pretty good. That's a good record. And he was in a group called, in the 60s, in a group called Kaleidoscope.
Yeah.
Beacon from Mars. So I got those.
So this is a pic that I got from a website where they're talking about one of the greatest concerts Brad and Simon never recorded. And apparently Roy Cooder stole the show here at the No Nukes Muse concert. And developed a bit of his reputation of being a slide guitar player, musician around that time.
Well, I think his career's building up, wasn't he? Like with albums like Paradise and Lunch and things. So not that far from away from Box Till You Drop in stylistically and things.
So this is the Cooder Caster. One of the reasons why he has that distinctive, beautiful, clear tone. That's a lap steel pickup there at the bridge. With I think it's a Duosonic or a Filtertron pickup there at the bridge. Sorry, at the neck. But definitely one of the ingredients, Brad, of him getting that clear tone is this pickup combination that a lot of guys have taken on board. There's a community of guys out there building Coodercasters. There's another picture of it there.
Great picture. It's a good looking guitar.
Yeah. Our friend Ramon from the Guitar Show has got a couple of videos where he built a Coodercaster Telecaster, and he talks about it in depth. So if anyone's interested in knowing the details, and again, one of the reasons why we love guitars and guitar players, because depending on what it is, you can get nerdy, and this guy is getting nerdy. So you want to go and check it out.
It's amazing, isn't it, that this kind of era guitar player, just takes a guitar and modifies it without a second thought, don't they? Take the pickups out, put something else in.
Yep.
It's hit with a mallet. I was reminded of that because I don't know if you watched the Jeff Beck auction this week. Quite a lot of his guitars had that sort of thing, was it? Take everything out, do this, put stuff in.
Yeah,
amazing. Well, to get the sound that you want.
And that's a photo there of Roy with his technique. So he wears his slide on his little finger. We've discussed this before, haven't we, guys? Some guys will wear it on their little finger. Some guys will wear it on their index.
Yep.
It's whatever you feel comfortable. There's no right way or wrong way. Where do you wear yours, Brad?
I'll stick the right finger up that I wear it on. This one. It's not the middle finger.
No.
I do tend to play it on my slide. I haven't got it. I've actually got it in the guitar case, but I do tend to play it on that finger there. That one. Well, that one.
What about you, Simon?
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Ring finger. Absolutely, ring finger of the left hand. Yeah. I can
play with it on the end finger, like the pinky, but I find I've got more control if I put it there, because you're wedging two fingers against the slide, so
exactly.
you can get a little bit more control. But it's not technically right or wrong or whatever. We're not telling you what to do. Just do whatever works for you. If you want to try playing slide, but a lot of slide players that I love, I've watched them, and yeah, that's how I got that idea. I was like, oh, okay, I see they put it on that finger, because I used to try it on the pinky, and I used to find that just sometimes it didn't have the right control, and then I put it on that finger, the ring finger, and game changer for me anyway. So
exactly, that's exactly my experience too. I was doing, when I got my resonator, I was using this finger here because a lot of guys were saying the pinky. But then I watched a couple of YouTube video clips. When I stuck it on there, game changer. I had more control. My vibrato became more deeper and more resonant because I had control. So yeah, go and fiddle around, fiddle with it. That's
play around,
Simon.
Yeah, that's definitely the way.
Yes, 100%.
Lovely. Okay.
Yeah,
we'll move on to side 2.
Yeah.
Yes. As we know, I have to do side 1 and side 2. So side 2 begins with Down in Hollywood, which is a kind of not a style that we've seen up until now on the album. It's kind of sort of drums and the bass lay down a real funky groove on this kind of but a bit more kind of urban funk, I would describe it as, certainly for lyrical content. Again, the multi-tracked, multi-backing vocals and things, and the 2 lead vocals kind of trade lines. He's singing with that, and also for the first time, I think, quite influentially, the half-spoken stuff. The half-spoken sort of sly humor stuff that I particularly reminded me of, and this is later, but of Robbie Robertson, Somewhere Down the Crazy River, which is kind of very similar kind of thing. It has that kind of laconic kind of spoken bit, doesn't it, in the thing? I don't know, Brad, if you know Robbie Robertson's first solo album myself, but it did strike me that this is kind of quite, this half-spoken vocals, a kind of sly humor, is kind of influential, in 80s things, and it's just kind of also reminded me a bit of Peter Gabriel as well, in an odd way, not the spoken vocal bit, but I kind of got the feeling that that this did have an 80s vibe right at the beginning of the 80s kind of thing, also, which is it's kind of surprised me looking back on it. I hadn't sort of particularly thought that it would, but yeah, as I say, you've got the spoken vocals, great drumming, laying down, and bass playing as well. Again, the chorus kind of picks it up. When they get to the chorus, they kind of pick it up a bit. So the digital thing is not is not affecting the dynamics, I don't think, negatively. Which I think if you're on the grid, it can be a bit, for us. For me, it can be a bit stayed on the grid, but not quite have it. But I think this does. And again, you've got that kind of long spoken interlude stuff, with those little vignettes, the 3 little vignettes that he goes through, and then back into the singing, and some bit of sly banter at the end again. Interesting opening. I think it's opening for side 2. Good. I give it an 8 out of 10, but never a skip. Andrew.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I agree with Alan. I've got a note here too. I think the saxophone and the accordion on this track add that wonderful, extra dimension, that you're not getting on the previous tracks. Brad, the percussion on this track is pretty good. It's phenomenal. I've mentioned it before. Jim Keltner, when he just sits in that pocket, it's just remarkable, isn't it? There's a couple of videos over the years that I've watched where he's talking about his contribution to a lot of albums, and he just loves the fact of being a session drummer, doesn't he? He doesn't have a huge ego. He just goes in there, and and to me, Simon, that kind of mentality fits on this album. It comes through, with the rest of the vibe of the album. The background vocals on this track's fantastic. Simon, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 too. I had it originally as a 7.5, but you've managed to convince me, that there's an 80s element to this before the time. So I think that's worth something pointing out, that these Southern guys, or these guys that you think might be just stuck in time, are actually keeping an eye, Brad, on technology and trends and what's moving forward, aren't they?
Yes.
They know what's going on. And Helene's right too. She loves the sax as well. So 8 out of 10. Brad.
I've got here down in Hollywood. I think it's a funky blues rocker with a gritty edge. Funky sort of rhythm here with the guitar provides like that backbone. The lead guitar, like the lead fills, adding a lot of character. Syncopated groove on the bass. It anchors that funky vibe. The drums are tight. Punchy snare. I mean, Jim Keltner, you mentioned it, Andrew. He's, that's why he's a big session guy. That's why he did all these records over this time frame, and it's a phenomenal player. I've put here horns and brass. The staccato lines punctuate the arrangement, adding that sort of boldness to the song. The right code is Rai Cooder. I said something else. Cooder's deliveries, vocal delivery, it's playful. It's matching the tone of the lyrics. The vibe of the song, it's a funky song based around the dark side of Hollywood, isn't it? I think that's what
absolutely, yeah.
And for me, it's a 8 out of 10 and never a skip, gentlemen.
Yeah, definitely.
It's interesting, isn't it? I think that those kind of spoken things and they're good on the first few listenings, but I think after a while, when they're coming, they're kind of slightly, for me, they kind of slightly lose their humour a bit. I'm not entirely certain about those kind of little spoken vignette things that they kind of have a they have a longevity to them. I don't think they do particularly. I think, which is why I kind of gave it an 8 rather than anything else. But I think yeah. So anyway, so track 2, side 1, track 6 is "Look at Granny Run Run." So this is a kind of sort of early R&B song, originally recorded by Howard Tate, and it's kind of got, again, it has a kind of sly humour in the lyrics, but it's less kind of pointed, I think. So I think they probably last a bit better. Starts off with the mandolin, I think, playing the mandolin, and again the bass and the light drums, and vocals over skeletal backing, with backing vocals, slide trades with the vocals as well, and then you've got another really nice slide solo. Never overplays Rai, knows exactly what to play. And then at the end, you've got the vocal interplay with the backing vocals, and then the slide interplay with the backing vocals and the lead vocals. So you've got a 2 thing and then a 3 thing going on, which is pretty cool. Again, this is a bit of a lighter tune to follow up on the on the first track. So I gave it an 8 out of 10, but never a skip. I think it's good contrast with the previous track. Andrew.
Yeah, I think you're right, Simon. I love the mandolin. I think that was the instrument that Rai was playing on the Rolling Stones, was the mandolin. So a great mandolinist. I was reading a review where he's considered, considered a master of the mandolin, Brad. Which is not surprising. These guys.
Yeah.
Are we surprised if to hear that the guy can play the mandolin in his sleep? No.
No.
Well, it's a thing. It's a thing, isn't it, for those musicians, that kind of multi-instrumentalist thing.
Yeah. Well, I am. I can play the guitar and the bass and a harmonica,
mandolin, banjo, harmonica,
and a mandolin.
Oh, look at this thing.
Yeah. So well, yeah.
You are our very own Rai Cooder.
Oh,
yes.
You've hit the nail on the head, and it's a fun song. You know, it goes back to, you know, those blues songs and blues titles. You know, it's and the country stuff too. You know, you get what you want from the meaning, and it's yeah, I love that. Good to see the bass. You've mentioned the bass on this, and the slide. Another good example. I've given this 8 out of 10 too, and it's definitely not a skip. Brad.
Look at Granny run. Look at her run. Rock and roll with sort of that high energy twist. Bright chugging rhythm guitars or guitar parts drive the song. I put here upbeat sort of walking bass line, gives that song that momentum, I think the bass line does. Drums, again, snappy rock and roll style with lively drum fills. Overall, the whole song is energetic, including the vocals. Lots of fun, great backing harmonies. It's a light-hearted, you know, tune, I think. And it's sort of, they're trying to capture like the early spirit of rock and roll, possibly, with this song. I gave it a 7 out of 10, guys, and never a skip. Do I time myself out for that or not?
No, it's fine. No. Do you think? I thought to myself in the is it an early advert for Viagra?
Oh.
Well, look at Granny run. Grandpa's running close behind. Look, there's something on Granddaddy's mind because he went to the doctor and got a brand new pill. Is this? Am I reading too much into it?
No, I think you could be onto something there for sure.
It's funny.
You could be onto something there, Simon.
Made me laugh. Anyway, it's fun. So anyway, the next track is "Trouble You Can't Fool Me." Again, a song co-written with Alan Toussaint, the great Alan Toussaint, and Fred Wise, and this is kind of New Orleans funk, and kind of features backing vocals and that rolling bass line. So starts out with a beautiful picked, clean guitar. Again, that separation, drums and bass come in, and you've got that multi-track lead vocals with the harmonies and stuff. You know, it's that they all come in together.
Yep.
More subtle interplay and you know, the arrangements, you know, pretty complex arrangements, but that you have to dig into a bit to again, just picks up again in the chorus, and a really nice bass line in the chorus as well. But you know, particularly pick that out as a thing. And then you've got a slide which plays the melody. Again, beautiful slide solo playing the melody. It's you know, with all the feel and all the Riker. And then you've at 2:37 you've got that drop down to the spoken section with the three voices, very conversational style. Again, there's the kind of thing about side two, is that conversational sort of spoken vocals thing going on here. And then you've got the kind of multi-track lead vocals go around at the end. Really nice. I think, you know, I think it again brings a slightly different style to the album. I give this 8.5 out of 10, but never a skip. Cool track. Andrew.
Trouble You. We all know about that, don't we? And it's an interesting track because, again, I'm not surprised that this gospel vibe feel, Brad, is on this album. First time I've ever heard it, Simon, but I'm not surprised by it when you consider, you know, again, the lineage, the tapestry, the threads that go back to the gospel with these guys. And when I was listening to it, Brad, I was thinking of you, especially when you went to go and see the Elvis Presley film, and you were talking to us about it, and you said it was really interesting about how Elvis goes into that tent, you know, at the beginning, you know, and sees these black people, you know, dancing and just being captivated by the music.
Yep.
And I remember thinking, yeah, that's we can't forget that. We can't forget what these, you know, white guys were, and well, white churches were doing that too, weren't they, Simon? You know, so yeah, you know, it wasn't a race thing, but the fact that, you know, it's probably easy for people to think that maybe it might be a black thing, You know, but yeah, I wasn't surprised that there was going to be an element of this on Rise album when I heard it. Great slide, amazing vocals, and you know, I love the fact that, you know, he's not frightened Simon to go back and dig deep into a 1979 album when new wave and you know, rock were running supreme, you know, and he was, you know, not scared to do that. I like that.
Yeah.
I've given this 8.5 out of 10. I was going to give it probably an 8, but this morning when I learnt that, you know, there was some other things going on with this album, I thought, yeah, we'll give it a give it a nudge up. Never a skip. Could be, if I listen to this album again, Brad and Simon, it might be one of my favourite songs.
Yeah. That's the thing, doesn't it? Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so cool. So track 8.
Wait.
Track.
Me.
Sorry?
Me.
So Brad, I'm sorry. You see, I've got it into my head now. Then it's all going wrong. Sorry, apologies.
I'll be quick. I promise.
No, I'm on a roll.
I'll be quick. I promise.
He's rushing along. He's cracking the whip.
Yeah. Chop.
Yeah, hurry up.
Too much.
Bypass that one. Don't worry about him. Bypass him. Trouble You Can't Fool Me. I've put here gospel infused soul with a bluesy groove. That's how I describe this one. You know, smooth rhythm guitar, soulful slide. Without repeating everything you guys have said, you know, that the bass has got a deep, steady groove. It's got a laid-back tempo, and the bass supports that. Relaxed and soulful. The organ swells and add that warmth and depth. His voice, supported with gospel-style backing harmonies, and it's got like that spiritual, uplifting feel to the song. I think it's a blend of blues and gospel traditions, and he's fused that together seamlessly. I gave this one an 8 out of 10, guys, and never a skip. Over to you, Simon. Hurry up.
Too much like the sound of my own voice. Yeah.
I couldn't help myself. Sorry.
It's Tony's favorite. It's Tony's favorite on the album.
Yeah, there we are. Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry, where was I? Yes. The penultimate track on this album is "Don't Mess Up a Good Thing," which is a duet with Chaka Khan. Again, a nod to the dynamic male-female R&B collaborators of the past, you know, from the 60s, of which there was a lot of. Yeah, it's originally a Fontella bass and Bobby McClure tune. So you know, it's got lots of elements in here, isn't it? It's got the drums on, it's got that funky shuffle beat and that kind of high-heeled sneakers type rhythm that ding, 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 ding kind of thing that drive it along.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a stop-start bass, and again, Cooder and Khan sing lead together, starting off, and then you've got nice slide solo as well. You know, again, another lovely, tasteful melodic guitar slide solo from, and then Chaka Khan sings the lead on the third verse, and then they sing together. You know, sing the title together. And then they have like the slide and Chaka Khan playing together, playing the same with the melody. And then they have the two voices in the slide doing with this sort of interplay at the end, which is, you know, just changing the dynamics, building it and changing it as you go through, changing the arrangement and stuff. It's a great version of it. Really like this and the upbeat sort of thing to it. And I gave it a 9 out of 10. Never a skip. Andrew.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. So I was a little bit familiar with this song too. before I heard the album. I had a friend back years ago who was a Chaka Khan fan, and you might remember she was pretty big in the mid-'80s. I Feel For You, and stuff like that. She was up there. She was giving Whitney, giving Whitney Houston a run for the money, amongst other performers. And they were heavily influenced by Chaka Khan. So this was one song, that I'd heard a few times. And I love the fact that Ry Cooder's bringing this in at the stage of the album, Brad, to have this powerful woman's voice. I love it. I think it's just fantastic. And because of that, it's worth a couple of points. The slide again is just incredible on here. Great location for the song to be on the album. I've given it 8.5, Simon, out of 10. And I think Chaka Khan just does a remarkable job. Brad.
Yeah. Well done, Chaka Khan. I'm just trying to find. I've just lost my notes, gentlemen. Sorry. Here we are. Now I'm going to slow down. We're up to Don't Mess Up a Good Thing. That's what we're up to, aren't we? Yep. So I put here Funky Soul. Am I on the right song? Don't Mess Up a Good Thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Funky Soul, bluesy feel, rhythm. It's got, with the vocals and everything, it definitely has a lively sort of energetic communion feel, the way the vocals are done, the call and response thing. The rhythm guitar, the rhythm playing is funky all the way through. Lead fills are funky even on the guitar. Punchy groove on the bass line. This one really propels the track along the bass line. Drums are tight, and I really think this is one of the best songs on the album for me, and I gave it a 10 out of 10, guys, and never a skip.
Wow.
I like the feel, love the vocals, love it all. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Chaka Khan.
Chaka Khan.
Don't give it less than that.
71 years old.
Wow. So the last track is a track called I Can't Win, which is a kind of slow ballad, haunting, melancholic blues piece originally penned by Bobby Womack. And the thing here is the picked guitar, isn't it? That kind of that's beautifully played, and the multi-track gospel vocals. Really, that give it. I mean, it's interesting that those gospely vocals, we've mentioned them quite a lot on side 2, less so I think on side 1. They seem to be a thing that were introduced. Again, more light drums and subtle bass line and things, are not pushing it forward, and a bit of gospel organ to fill out the sound in the background. Reasonably unobtrusive, but it's definitely there. And and there's really the other features, the fantastic multi-layered soul vocals that make it up with the slide guitar. So I give this a 9 out of 10 and never a skip. It's a beautiful piece. Andrew.
Yeah, I agree with you, Simon. The depth of the vocal harmonies pushed by that great bass and that incredible guitar solo just make the song, propels it. Definitely an interesting combination of elements there. I've given this, Brad, 8.5 out of 10. And certainly the type of song that I would expect this album to finish with. I'm not surprised by it. The story's been said, Simon. Record over. Brad?
I Can't Win. It's Ry Cooder's guitar takes center stage for me on this one. It's got like a haunting, emotional sort of guitar lines in it. I really enjoyed that. Slow blues, obviously there's a lot of gospel undertones throughout the record, and it's on this song as well. Drums and bass that anchor this track. They're sparse but understated, but obviously, focusing on the atmospheric feel of and rhythm of the song. Hammond organ swells, piano lines enhance the song's gospel feel. I think Cooder's vocals are raw and emotive, supported by that lush gospel-inspired backing harmonies. And I just think it's a heartfelt closing song to the album. It's got a great melody and everything like that in a bluesy sort of uplifting gospel feel. I gave it 8 out of 10, guys, and never a skip. Simon, I think we're done all the rankings of the album.
We have.
Well done.
We've gone through.
Record time.
Well, not too bad. Well, it's only 9 tracks, so it's kind of
yeah.
that helps. Thank you, Helene.
I think yes. Thank you, Helene. It's we did rank it. We have ranked it, Tony. I've just been having a look just to make sure we had, but we have ranked it, so you can go back and listen to that.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think that this album is remarkable in many ways. The sound, I think, is prescient to what's come in the 80s and things. I think that kind of very crisp digital delivery with separation, the instrument separations, is really good. I also think that it's remarkably, the thing that I thought about it was that it's remarkably consistent.
Yeah.
Although myself personally, I didn't give any of the tracks a 10. I didn't. It's interesting that I didn't feel like any of the tracks quite warranted a 10, but they were all a 9 or an 8. They were all kind of strong. They all had great elements to them and things, and I really enjoy it as an album to listen to. Brad, as you said, it kind of great to listen to in the car, great to listen to as a as a piece where you just put it on unobtrusively in the background and it just plays, doesn't it? People like it.
100%. I think it's an album that sort of combines a wide range of styles, really. I mean, it's got one major style throughout the record, but it's got touches of rockabilly, soul, funk, gospel, blues, and he's managed to put it together cohesively like a polished piece of work, really. His guitar playing both rhythm and lead, they're the star throughout the record, but he's supported by some wonderful musicianship really throughout the band, so including vocalists and other singers and stuff like that. So the album's digital quality was groundbreaking for its time, obviously, but and I think you can really sort of feel that nuance of that in every performance on this. It's crystal clear. It's definitely a sparkly sounding record.
Well done. Well,
yeah.
Well, the album that we're going to be ranking next week definitely isn't crystal clear.
Yeah. Yes, I like that though.
Yeah. It's definitely a stark contrast to the album that the Rock Professor picked. It's an album that came out 2 years after Clapton left Cream, and when Clapton was in his drug-induced self-exile, and an album that was released without much fanfare. But probably Brad and Rock Professor, probably the album that kept Eric Clapton in the public's eye as a guitarist and as a musician. Very important album. So we're going to be talking about this album next week, Cream Volume 2, one of the greatest live recordings. We've done Volume 1.
Yeah.
So we're going to be doing that next week.
No, I'm looking forward to that.
Another short album.
Sink our teeth into that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thank you, Simon, for picking this album, for kicking off the new year with an album that had depth and character. It's certainly an album that offers that, and we invite people to go and check it out, because if you're after the authenticity, that's really important. It's a key theme that we talk about. Most of the albums, well, in fact, all the albums that we rank do have that. They do have that common thing running through it. So go and check it out. And before I pass it on to you guys, I want to say again, happy birthday, Australia. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for being a great brother to my country, New Zealand. We fought together and we died together in 1914, 15, 16, and 17. Our nations were forged together in blood, together at Gallipoli. So don't let anyone take that away from you. We fought together.
I agree, 100%, 100%, Andrew. And I mirror that. I'm not going to repeat exactly everything word for word, but I mirror everything you said there, Andrew, on from Australia back to New Zealand. And happy Australia Day, everyone, and happy Eddie Van Halen birthday day.
I know, yes.
Simon.
Good. Well, thank you very much, boys, for indulging me in that. That was really good, and I'm looking forward to Cream Live Volume 2.
Yes.
With its 6 tracks.
Yeah,
6 tracks. Big 6-track album. There's a lot.
Yeah, so we can spend a little bit of time talking about that. Obviously, we haven't done Wheels of Fire, have we? We've done Volume 1. We haven't done what Wheels of Fire, I don't think. So
no, I don't think so. No.
So I'm warning you that we'll be doing that one soon at some stage.
I might have something to show next week to fill a few minutes.
Fantastic. We're into looking at things.
Yes.
Do you want to do a shout out? Oh, sorry, Brett.
Yeah, I'll do
I interrupted you.
That's all right.
No, I was going to, I guess I'll do a shout out to the people in the chat. But go on, Brad.
No, that's all right. You go. You go do the shout out, guys. Shout out. Shout out to everyone. And if you haven't already subscribed,
please subscribe. Yes. It's so Ellen, thank you very much as ever. Lovely to see you this morning. Tony Bone as well. Thanks. Thanks for dropping in, Tony. Nice to see you too. Helene as well, who's gone off to start do more things in her day. So Helene, thanks for dropping by as well. Great to see you.
Helene.
Yeah, fantastic. It's the scorers. Ellen and Helene are the scorers. Who else particularly made besides Christopher Lysover, who made some comments earlier, but I think you're the three who've made comments this week. So thank you very much, team, for
thank you for
joining us. Yeah. Fantastic.
Thank you, guys.
And we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Take care.
Have a good one, guys. Stay safe.
Have a good one. Yeah. Bye.
Thanks, Tony. We love Australia too.
Thanks, Tony.